Okay, everyone. I'm going to do the little intro. This is the Interlibrary Loan Roundtable for November 2nd, 2020. We are currently almost done with the best practices document, and I missed recording the discussion about loan periods. So I will summarize that loan periods, we established that a minimum of 45 days works best for interlibrary loan checkout periods. And it was suggested to have a 84-day loan period with no renewals. And that was not, we don't vote, but I'm just going to say that was voted as not feasible for now. So we will talk further about loan periods at another meeting, but for now we established that the best practices should list a minimum of 45-day loan period, which is still left up to individual libraries. Okay, so that is my little summary for anyone who watches the recording. So again, is there anything that anyone wanted to add to the best practices or to the conversation about loan periods? I think we started with a really solid document to begin with, so.
This is Adrienne Katz from the Athenaeum, and I was wondering if the delivery from courier, if that would impact, if you get a delivery 3 times a week, it's different than a library like mine that's only once a week. So we can only send things out once a week. So it impacts how fast we can get things back. Mm-hmm. That might be another factor for consideration too about loan periods.
So,
and quarantine.
Yeah.
It's
and quarantine. I mean, with any luck, someday quarantine will not be part of the problem, but do you think that we should suggest a higher minimum just because of the times, or leave it at 45?
I think at least 45 makes sense.
Okay.
But that may be one of the reasons why the loan period feels shorter.
Yeah, I think some loan periods are set as shorter. But hopefully this will lead to more libraries having a longer loan period, because even with USPS, that's slowing down as well. I think they still have they're down a sorting machine in White River Junction. So, okay. So we'll leave it at least 45 days. I would suggest we revisit it at our next meeting, which is in February, and we'll see where things stand then. And let me add that to my list. I think it's going to be an ongoing conversation for this. Right. So we don't usually vote, but does everyone vote that it seems like a good document to take out of draft status and start sending out on the listservs every 6 months?
Works for me.
Awesome. Okay.
For me.
Works for me.
Yeah, looks good.
Okay, so I'm gonna go in. Down here. Oops. Okay. All right. So I will start sending that out. I'll send it out tomorrow as a start and then have a 6-month reminder to send it out again.
So, April, can I bring up a quick question on the book bans? So this is Michelle from Fletcher. Tenzin is here with me. You all know Tenzin. So I have a question. When it's on the book bans, it says do not put in book drop. Is that something that we added, or is that something that the lending library added?
So at one point, that was something that Autographics had as the default text. And I had updated the system-wide one to take that out because most people don't care if it's returned in the book drop.
Right.
And at some point, they did an update and it showed up again. You can take that out of yours and change it. And I think I should send out a reminder about that.
If you could, with the instructions on how to do it, because with only using the book drop right now, it's added some confusion to our patrons.
Yeah.
Okay. And we want to make sure that that's not going out on our books either.
Right.
Okay. Because we're, generally they can go in the book drop. Okay, thank you.
I think most people are only using the book drop, so it's very incorrect right now. And Kelly said that the school library has just changed their quarantine time from 7 days to 1 day. Jasmine, yes, I will definitely make sure to send out the instructions on how to change the book drafts. Okay. So that does lead into the next discussion topic, which was the quarantines. And a lot of school libraries I do know have switched to 1-day quarantines. And my understanding is that it's based on a discussion that VISLA had with AOE, Agency of Education, an Agency of Education guidelines that they had just updated, not this last Friday, but the Friday before, said that library books could just be checked in and handed out to the next person. And so VISLA contacted them because they didn't talk to any librarians about it. They did not talk to VISLA. They didn't talk to anyone at Department of Libraries. So after talking to them and reviewing all of the research that AOE had, it was agreed that a 1-day quarantine would suffice. So I can't make any recommendations. We're doing a 4-day quarantine at the Department of Libraries. What everyone is saying is that VISLA has updated their best practices to a 1-day quarantine, but with the knowledge that you need to look at your community and who is high risk and who is not, and your staff, and you have to evaluate what works best for your community. So those are the guidelines that we have, is that at minimum 24 hours, but you have to look at your community and go from there. A lot of our staff would be considered high risk, so we just do a straight 4-day quarantine.
So April, it's Michelle again. I have a question. So we're quarantining our books, including ILL. We check them in.
Yep.
Then they go into the courier box.
Mm-hmm.
Am I to assume that the library receiving them is also quarantining them?
I'm assuming the libraries that receive quarantine, what we do is we assume that there's a few days of transit time for them, which is why we have 4 days as our quarantine. When we receive our courier box or anything in the mail, we set it on a shelf, we mark the date, and then 4 days later we go and open it. We don't quarantine before we send anything out.
Okay.
So
I'm
we
just wondering
quarantine
if that's
as a borrower. We don't quarantine as a lender.
Okay, I'm just curious what people are doing because we've already quarantined them for a lot of days. And we're reevaluating that with the new recommendations. But
Right. Is anyone else quarantining as a lender?
We're not
Here in Bennington, what we do is for the courier, when the courier comes in, we actually clean the outside of the container, and we assume that the books have gone through natural quarantine in transit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, typically the transit time is at least a few days. So yeah.
Yeah, but we assume that the outside, the actual bins themselves are not clean, and so we physically clean those. We wipe them down and let them air dry before we even touch them.
Yeah, we also wipe down ours. Okay. But yeah, my general guidelines are to quarantine as a borrower, not, I don't think you would need as a lender. Oh, Betsy says that they are quarantining as a lender, but not on purpose, because based on their delivery day and her work schedules, the tub generally sits for 3 to 4 days before it's picked up anyway. So it's like a built-in lending quarantine, but most people in the chat are not quarantining as a lender. So, and Ashley said that they're doing a 3-day quarantining as a borrower, but with the books not touching each other. So that's a shorter period, and quarantining likely works better with the items not stacked, because as I'm assuming most people have read the Realm Study updates, which said with items stacked, the virus can live up to 6 days. But again, there's no studies on how much of the virus is still detected and how much is needed for transmitting. So again, it's a judgment call for everyone. All right. Any other comments on quarantine periods? It's always interesting to know what different libraries are doing.
So I hadn't really thought about this, but if we're sending multiple things to a library where they might be stacked, would it then be preferable to have I don't know, either to send them in separate envelopes or
I mean, I think that even if they're stacked based on transit time, and it sounds like most libraries are doing at least a 3-day quarantine, I feel like it would still be fine even with multiple items in the bag. There's still some background noise coming through. Okay, I think I got it. All right, is there any other comments or feedback on quarantining? Nothing. Okay. Good feedback. And the next one was the big one, which is we are 2 years into this group. What are our goals for the next year? We've made best practices. We've made marketing posters. We've talked about advocacy, and we've talked about marketing, and we've talked about lending periods and quarantines. Do we want to continue to just build the agenda as current events lead to adding items? Is there a new project that anyone thinks we need to work on? Do we need new marketing materials? Do we need to have a strategy session about marketing? It's a group led by everyone, so just waiting to hear where you want it to go.
I
had someone start talking.
It was Renee. I thought I cut somebody off. I guess I got a lot of feedback from my end. I'm just curious, we just watched at my library a video presentation on the possible new discovery level that might be added to the consortium. And I wonder if you guys have as a group, have talked about how those systems will all gel together. I'm not a very high-tech person, so I don't even know if that's a requirement, but it was a very exciting demonstration that I looked at, and I was wondering how it would connect to Clover.
Is this for Vocal or Catamount?
I think it was on Vocal. I'm blanking out.
Yeah,
It's
Vocal, we had an Aspen demo for Vocal. And I think Catamount also did.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
And
Catamount
we're
hasn't
pretty
got that
excited
yet.
about it.
Yeah, I'm hoping it moves forward, though I'm not involved in it. I just get reports on it from Chris Kirby, who you guys usually talk to.
Right, exactly, yes.
So I don't know, I don't remember in that demonstration if they thought about how these things could all connect. But if that is moving forward, would we want to be informed and involved on getting Clover so that we're all gelling at the same speed?
So what is Aspen? I haven't heard about it.
It's essentially, it's a layer that goes over the top of like Vocal or Catamount, and it actually brings together, someone can type in a query for a book title, and it will pull in the information from Overdrive, pull in the information from your catalog, it'll pull in all the different types of formats that you have that title, for example, and it'll display them all for a patron, and a patron can decide how they want to access that title or that information. And I think, yeah, we ought to look at how Clover might work with Aspen.
We could. And so it's a layer over your existing Koha catalog.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
There's a lot of
connect to
different types out there, but Aspen is the one that Bywater is working with, and they essentially own it and are putting out there and supporting, and it's pretty exciting to watch it in action.
It was a very impressive demonstration, April. I had to leave the original demonstration early that day, and Chris sent me a recording. So somewhere out there in TechLab, you can access a recording and you can see the presentation.
I would love to see that.
Yeah, April, I'll try to send you a copy of that recording.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so until I see that, I'm probably not really going to be able to explain how Clover could connect. I know that Clover uses SIP2 to connect to Vocal, and I don't think Catamount has SIP2 set up for it yet, but I know Vocal has it set up for all of their libraries.
Catamount has SIP2 as well.
Catamount does. I should know that, but I am forgetting everything this week. And I am sure that there is a way to have it all connect. That since not all libraries are on those two systems, it would likely not be for all libraries in the state, but it would be a large portion of them. Yeah. So I'll watch the presentation and start digging into that. Okay. Is there anything else? Any other goals for the group for interlibrary loan in Vermont? Anything else you'd want to talk about?
So April, this is Michelle. So I have to say that I found this group really helpful. Coming in, new to public libraries. It's been really helpful to have these meetings and all the information that's being sent. So I would certainly hope that you guys continue it. Is that what you're talking about, or are you just looking
Well,
for?
I think the group is going to continue because I also really like this group. It helps me know what's going on.
Yeah.
But I'm just wondering if there are any projects or materials that you think we should also be creating. Like we have the best practices, and Jasmine asked about the marketing materials, and those are in the interlibrary loan folder. But let me put someday when this loads, I'll put the link in the chat so that you can see this. That's the wrong one. You should be able to go into the IOL posters and you can download any of those. And there's a link to all of the interlibrary loan materials. I actually do have, I think most people have seen it. I have a page on our website that houses all of the resources for this group. And it has links to the folders and the materials and all of the recordings from our meetings. So, all right. I'll pick up that.
So before,
Yes.
are you thinking of closing down? Because I have an announcement.
Oh, what is
When
your
you're-
announcement?
So our announcement is that Fletcher Free Library has been part of Kit Keeper with GMLC and the Chittenden County Libraries. I don't know if any of you know what Kit Keeper is, but it is a platform that is used to reserve. Is that my feedback?
Someone's giving some feedback.
Oh,
Okay.
who's JT? Can you mute JT?
Oh, Judy, is it okay if I mute you?
Sure. What are you getting feedback from me?
I think so.
That's the one that's flashing.
Yeah, it
All
sounds
right.
like, I think it might just be the speakers feeding back into the microphone. But
Sure,
I'm
you
just
can
gonna
mute
mute
it.
you from, okay.
So Kit Keeper is a program that the Chittenden County Libraries have been using for the last year and a half, I believe. Remember, I'm new, to loan book discussion kits. It is a platform that is used throughout, the states. It's a fairly easy platform, it's a standalone platform. It allows you to reserve books, kits of 10 books for your book discussions. Mary and I are doing a introduction meeting, Zoom meeting, the second week in December. We've had 5 new libraries sign on throughout the state. I'm not sure that all the ILL people have gotten the invitation, so if it's okay, I'm going to send it out to this group, the listserv. So basically what it does is if you have a couple of kits that you can commit to the program, you get access. Right now we've got 290 kits amongst just us that we're willing to lend out. So when you've got a book group or discussion group going, instead of placing 10 ILL requests for 10 books, you would go in and reserve 1 kit. And you'd have it, it's set for like, I think it's 8 weeks. So you have travel time plus a 6-week discussion group. It's pretty cool. I'm coming from a lot of systems, and this one kind of really impresses me that we're able to share amongst the libraries a way of supporting groups, especially now. These book discussion groups are really, really hot because a lot of people want that connection. But I know that tens in places, sometimes 10 individual requests has to track 10 individual requests, waiting for 10 things to come in, get them back, pay shipping, in some cases back and forth for that many. This allows you to make one request for the kit. So does anyone mind if I send that invitation out to the listserv?
I think that would be fine. And if you send me the link to the Zoom meeting, I'll put it in my meeting summary for this meeting also.
Okay, I can do that. Again, and the cost is minimal. The cost basically is owning at least one kit that you're willing to commit to the program. And I think it's $20 a year is what we're looking at the cost next year. Right now, it's grant funded through, I think, next June. And then it would
By
be.
GMLC.
Yeah.
So this is outside and beyond the multiple copies Google Doc that we already use, right?
Yes.
So does that mean you wouldn't be putting, you wouldn't have items in that group anymore?
So keep in mind that I started last year and this is the first I've heard of that. So let's start there.
So that document, I'm not sure who's maintaining it now because it's normally the president of the Public Libraries Division of VLA. And last I knew Luna had stepped down, but I would not swear to it. So I'm not sure who receives the updates to that document. So that one is always a little tricky.
Yeah.
And if libraries don't know it exists, they don't submit their copies to it.
And for our copies that are in KitKeeper, they are not in Clover as a kit. This is outside of Clover. They don't, this, so I can reserve if I know that in the next 3 months, let's say in March, I have a group meeting that has a specific book that they want, I can reserve the kit up to 6 or 8 months ahead of time so that I know I'll be able to supply that group, which is a really nice thing about this.
A great tool for being able to plan your programming because Clover lets you request, if they're cataloged together, you can request them, but you can't reserve in Clover.
Right. This is a great kit for a great program for that.
Yes.
So I'll send the invitation out and, we'd love more people to join. Like I said, if you look on our website and you look under book kits, book discussion kits, you'll see the list that was about 2 months ago. We haven't updated it in a couple of months, but it's pretty extensive. And we're getting more and more libraries to join, which means there's more and more availability. And we would like to be able to use this statewide.
So if you join and you can add in whatever of your own sets you have, and then nobody has to do any maintenance to it?
Maintenance to it in what way?
Like if each member puts their own kits in it, then no one's responsible for maintaining what's on or off the list, right?
You're responsible for maintaining your own.
Right. So there's
Nope.
The problem with the Google Doc would go away. You were mentioning April. Okay.
It would only if every it would encounter a little bit of the same problem is that not every library would be on KitKeeper. So there might be some in Clover and there might be some in KitKeeper. So for Department of Libraries, we lend our book that's out to schools a lot. So schools, there's not a lot of schools in the KitKeeper instance. So if we wanted to continue being able to lend those to schools, we couldn't put them in KitKeeper because then they would be unavailable. So
in Clover, to find a set, you're supposed to be able to type in discussion set or just set and then
for
title?
our sets.
Just for your sets.
Yes. Libraries catalog them differently. Some do one record for all of them. We have an individual record for each set. So it depends on the cataloging.
Yeah, it is hard to find them sometimes.
And
it is.
This particular platform is very easy to search, very easy to maintain, very easy to update where things are. It may not be for everybody, but if you do a lot of book discussion groups, either, standalone or your library actually does them as a program, it might be really helpful. And the commitment is basically to just to ship your kits when they get requested, and to maintain what you have, and how you deal with it on your own end. It's, yeah.
I
I
saw
was
the
pretty
demo and it
impressed.
does look really easy to navigate.
I was impressed, and I used some pretty good systems.
Yeah.
I think that this is a very simple one for a lot of people to, jump in right away and use. And like I said, we'll be doing a demo the second week in December, but I just didn't know if the word had gotten down from the directors, because it was sent to, so I just wanted to make sure that it was made available to everyone on this list. So, in April, I will send that information to you.
Awesome. And I'm hoping to get a summary of this meeting and the recording and everything together and have it out by the end of the week.
Okay.
Awesome. All right. Is there any other topic that anyone wanted to talk about? Any other interlibrary loan? Oh, Kelly's raised her hand.
I'm wondering, how do you delete an item on your lender's expired list?
So it's a request that you received and it expired before you could update it at all?
Yes.
So the short answer is that you can't. Only borrowers can delete any of the requests. But if you have one that's been sitting there for a while, let me know and I'll see what I can do.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else?
April, I sent you the link for Aspen.
Oh, thank you. I'll make sure to watch that this week so I can dive into that as well. All right. So if we have no other questions, the next meeting for the group is in 3 months. So it would be February, and it would be the first week of February. And it would be in the morning, because I'm going to keep doing the morning afternoon swap with the hopes that someday we will be gathering in person again. And I will send out a call for any agenda items ahead of that meeting, and I keep an eye on the listserv so that I can see what are hot topics on there as well. And for everyone who is on the courier, I promise I am digging into the weird delays. I have no idea what is causing it, and I know it should not be happening. So keep sending me feedback and emails, and I will see you all in February, if not sooner. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.